The movement ran for about 8 or 10 hours, and the time weight dropped, but the quail weight did not drop, and the cuckoo weight did not drop. And the reason why they did not drop is because the minute hand is slipping on the shaft. You see that? It ain't supposed to drop like that. And because it's dropping, the it will never trip this lever for the quail, which in turn will never trip the lever for the cuckoo. And I said at the beginning of this video that the taper pen was not very good. So I got a nail here, and I have it stuck in my adapter for my drill, because this adapter will close all the way, and I don't remember where I got this. But anyway, I have it in my drill. I have a stone on my Dremel, turning the Dremel on and turning my drill on at the same time, and tilting my drill will allow me to get a tapered pen. And it's actually pretty dang sharp. I don't know if y'all can see that or not. It's pretty sharp. So anyway, I'm going to take that off and put it. I bent the tension washer to make this tighter. So now I have to put the tapered pen in the hole and test it out with the hand after I put the tapered pen in the hole. And the way you do that is you got to find where the hole is, first of all. And then you push down on the minute wheel with minute pinion along with the washer and put the tapered pin in that hole. That hurt. The pen went through my thumb. Anyway, it's in the hole, and now I have to test the hands out to see if, like I said, it went through my thumb, to test to see if they drop. I think it's going to be fine now. I need to clean up the blood. Standby. Mechanics Band-Aid. Tissue and masking tape. But anyway, I need to put this movement back on my stand and test it out to make sure everything is going to work correctly now. I might have to make this pen a smaller diameter. Back on the stand, and I think it's going to work this time. I got the pendulum off so it goes faster. Because I was wanting to see whether the hands are moving. Just turn the hand a little bit. Hopefully within the next minute or so, we'll see the quail do its thing. I still have to adjust the cuckoo. I have another movement. That is just like this. I might have to get that out and compare the two to see where and if I put this lever on wrong. Because I said when this trips the cuckoo doesn't want to play. The cuckoo's not going to play this time because I got the bird too close to this arm right here. I'm going to have to redo this stand. I'm going to have to put longer bolts on it and tighten up the bolt with the nut back here and then put this round shaft on, because the bolts are slipping. It's a very genius ideal. It's just the fact that it needs some fine tuning. I did that. It should trip. As you can see, the cuckoo didn't trip because this lever needs to be adjusted some. But one thing at a time. I want to see if the quail, I want to make sure that the hands are moving, which they are. So I'll check it at the different position, and I might have to adjust the lever inside here, which this lever here that I'm moving trips. See it, and that's why I say I need to modify the stand, because the movement is moving because these bolts are loose. So we're getting there. It helps if you have another movement exactly like it. This is one that I bought a while ago, and as you can see, it works just fine. So I was able to get this movement working, and I'm going to explain what I did after I show you it working. There's the quail and it's tripping the cuckoo, putting pressure on the cuckoo, and the cuckoo worked. I don't have the count wheel on just yet because I just wanted to show you what I had to do. This lever right here, which comes out of the count wheel, was got a section in here that this lever trips and the third wheel warning pin hit. The problem was it was bent out of shape. So it took me a while, I will be honest, but it took me a while to figure out what was wrong. And it was because this lever here was bent out of shape. The part that the third wheel warning pin goes on, you should be able to see it right here. Let me see if I can put some more light on the situation. You should be able to see it right here. And I'll point it over here in case you don't see it. This part right here is what the third wheel warning pin hits. Well, that part right there was bent just a little bit, that it was going into the slots on the third wheel warning pin. So like I said, I got it figured out. So now when I lift this lever, the cuckoo trips. And like I said, it's nice when you have the exact same movement, and that's what this is. It's by Hubert Herr. It is the exact same movement. And for some reason, I got this lever bent out of shape, but I'll worry about that later. Anyway, getting back to this, it's time to put the count wheel on. I have to put the gong levers on. If you're having trouble with your gong levers, sometimes you have to take them all the way off to fix them. But in this case, the high note lever goes on first. And then the low note lever. The reason why I tripped the cuckoo is because this gong lever needs to be in this section right here, along with this gong lever. And if it's not in that section right there, well then you have to try to get it in that section right there. Because this is what's going to happen. When I put the hammer on, I get this wire out of the way so I can put the hammer on. This wire is what pushes the hammer down. But I have to get it out of the way from the levers, and then it'll be okay. These two wires here is what catches the great wheel. Okay, the hammer is supposed to hit first, but as you can see, it's not. I have to put this wire in this slot, but before I bend that wire, I want to see what's going on with the hammers. Okay, I think what's happening is the high note lift lever, the low note lift lever is hitting first, and then the high note lift lever, and then the hammer. And that's why I say that the high note and low note levers have to be in that next slot. And in order to get it there, I think I have to loosen up the nut. Lift the plate up just enough to get those levers down. I might have to bend these wires over the wire on the plate also, because now I have to put all these gears back together. And hopefully it's not out of time after I put all these gears back together. Okay, good. So anyway, as I was saying, I might have to bend the low note lift wire because I want it in the same slot as the high note lift wire in this area right here. And if it doesn't go in there which it doesn't, and then I'm going to have to, I'm going to bend that wire up so it can go over the pin on the great wheel. And that's the slot that I want it in. Now to put the hammer on. But I have to get this wire out of the way to put the hammer on. Like I said, that wire is in the way. So now it goes, and now I can put that wire in that slot. Because that wire pushes the hammer down. As you can see, the low note lift lever is staying up. So I'm going to bend it. Sorry. As you can see, the low note lift lever is staying up. So I'm going to bend that wire so it comes down. And we'll get back to you. The proper way to do it is take this nut off. And as you can see, I have both the levers stuck up in the air now. But the proper way to do it is take this nut off, spread this plate apart, and then pull this gear away from, pull the great wheel away from the next gear and move it to the right or to the left, whichever way you want to turn it, to get the levers where you want them to be. So that's what I'm going to do now, is spread this plate, pull the main gear away from the next gear, turn it a tooth or so, and then put it back in. The easiest way for me to get this thing to the low note lever to drop is to take it out and put an arc in this back lever. This back wire here is what trips the low note lever. And once you put an arc in it, it will bypass the pin that it sits in, which is the same pin as the gong. Now, I don't have the gong in yet. I just want to show you as it is tripped. Both the high note lever and the low note lever are in the same section between the two pins, sharing the same space, which allows the high note lever to go off first, which is the longest lever, and then the low note lever. So now I have to put the gong in, and the gong pin will catch here. So the gong will go first, then the high note lever, and then the low note lever. So let me do that now. Like I said, you're supposed to be able to take the main gear out and move it. And I've done that. It's just that it's a pain in the butt because this entire train, the cuckoo train, gears come out when you separate the plates. So the easiest way for me is to do what I said, put an arc in this bottom pen here that catches the low note lever, that trips the low note lever. Now be careful, if you bend this wire too much, you could break it, and you don't want to do that. I put the low note lever in underneath the high note lever pen, so I got to redo that. I don't know if you saw what I did, so I'm going to show it to you. The high note lift lever pen right here was up in the air when I put the low note lever in, which you could do. But then nothing will function because the high note lever is up in the air. So make sure you put it in correctly. Anyway, I'm going to put the gong in and then put the bird back on and see what happens. Put it back on my stand and see if it functions properly. Now I have the movement back on the stand, and I fixed my stand. I took these shafts off, they unscrew, and I put a nut on the bolt. I tightened up the nut on each one of these shafts, and then I screwed these shafts back on. Yes, I could have tightened up the shaft, but I wanted to modify it to be my stand. So anyway, I put the movement back on the stand. I don't have the cuckoo bird post on because the way my stand is set up, the cuckoo bird would hit this part right here. But I just wanted to see if it was going to function properly and the weights drop evenly. I need to put the minute hand on. And it's a good time to see whether or not the minute hand is straight up and down. As you can see, I got the cuckoo side just right, but the quail side, I had to pull on the weight some. And I'm having to do the same thing here too. It might be the fact that I don't have this adjusted right. This wire needs to be closer to this wire. So let me do that. As you can see, I got the trip wire closer to the cuckoo wire, and let's see what happens. And watch the cuckoo. Count wheel is doing this thing. It slipped that time. It went into the half hour, then it bounced out and went into the hour. So that would throw your count off. So now I have to figure out why it bypassed that. The wire that pushes this lever down might need to be tighter to push that lever down even more. So, but we're getting there. I just wanted to see whether it would trip on its own now. So now I'm just going to let it run, adjust the beat on it. Might be a little bit off, but we're getting there. Again, I hope you are enjoying this video. I wanted to take the time to show you the case. Yes, if I was to bring the camera up close, you could see where I repaired it. But I always kid with people saying I repair stuff, and with the 10-foot rule in action, unless you have eagle eyes, you will never see this repair. Because if I was to stand here, I'm 6 feet away, give or take, maybe 5, and you can barely see the repair. The repair that sticks out the most is the repair on the topper, but that topper was already repaired by somebody else and they didn't do a very good job, so I tried to fix their mistake. But anyway, it looks a lot better than what it did. And after I was done repairing it, I used this gel stain, which is a hickory gel stain, and I ordered this off of eBay. This is what Steve Fowler used to repair my 1880 Alexander Flieg Hunter's cuckoo clock, and I wanted to touch some of it up. He told me he got it at like Home Depot or Lowe's or Menards. Well, I went to 5 different places and nobody had it, and they told me that they can no longer get this stuff in. The hickory gel stain. Other colors they can get in. So anyway, I ordered it off of eBay, and it was cheaper to get 2 quart cans. As far as quantity wise, it was cheaper, so I bought 2 quart cans, and I'm giving a can to Steve as part of my thank you for him doing such a fantastic job. Anyway, the case looks a lot better, and as soon as I'm satisfied with the movement, we'll put that in and go from there. The movement has been taken away for a few hours now. The weights are dropping evenly. I went through every lever on the cuckoo side to make sure that it wasn't skipping. And what I had to do was a couple of things. As you can see, it's not skipping. This lever here was bent just a little bit, so I had to straighten it. And the wire that goes from here inside this hole that pushes on that lever was not pushing on that lever hard enough. So I had to adjust the wire. And so when I move the minute hand, you can see the quail plays like it's supposed to. And this time around it's going to trip the cuckoo. One more time. And I got my beat amplifier on it. Sounds pretty good. The birch and crutch assembly is moving like it's supposed to. So I'm satisfied with this movement, the way it's set up. So now it's time to take it off my stand, put the cuckoo bird back on, and then put it back on my stand with this lever over here. That way I could see if the cuckoo bird is functioning properly. But we're getting there. The pin that I made for the minute wheel with minute pinion fell out because I never did take the time to make it smaller so it would fit in there further. So I just went ahead and used one of these brass pins. You can get them from Time Savers. They're made in India. They're really cheap. They're like a one-time only deal. Once you use it, if you unbend it, they normally break. Like I said, they're made in India, but they work. And the reason I was able to take this out of the way is because I tightened up these posts. So the movement is in there pretty steady. Quail, cuckoo. Quail, quail, cuckoo. I'm satisfied with that. Everything seems to be working well. And now it's time for me to put this movement in the clock. As you can see, I have a pillow down to protect the case. I don't want no damage to occur to it after I did all that work trying to repair it. And I want to mention this about the chains. When you're putting the chains on, be paying attention as you are turning the gears, because the chain will wrap around the gear again and you will have a mess on your hand. It just occurred to me. So time to put the chains into the case. As you can see, I have a magnetic screwdriver true antique cuckoo clocks use brass chains. These are not brass chains. They're metal chains coated with a brass coloring. So the easiest way for me is to stick the movement, and I got it tilted at an angle for this video. So stick the minute an hour tube of the movement into the hole that you hang up the clock with, and then find the correct chain, stick it down in the case, put your magnetic screwdriver next to the hole, and you can easily pull out the chains. Prior to me doing that, I would take a tweezers, stick in a hole, try to grab a hold of the chain. Depending on the tweezers, a lot of times it would let go. So it is just easier to do it the way that I'm showing you. Especially because you're dealing with 6 sets of chains here. Now you could also, and I'm going to do that for this last chain, hold the movement up in the air like this and put the chain in the hole. And so because I still have the the quail bellow in there, I have to position this quail inside that square wire, his tail inside that square wire, because that's what trips the quail. And I also have to deal with the bellow wire here. So it can be a little frustrating to do all this. So as I always say, take your time, don't get in a hurry, and you can get it done. Almost there, but the lever that trips the quail was stopping me. I have to push the wires into the door. And I'm going to have to adjust this quail because, as you can see, it is the tail is too close to the bellow. So I'm going to go ahead and connect this wire to the quail lever. And close up the quail lever. And now I have to put the 4 screws into the movement to hold the movement in place. And once I do that, I'll get back to you. And before you put all 4 screws in the movement, you want to make sure that the hour tube is not hitting the dial. And you can adjust it some to bring it so it's not hitting the dial. If after you adjusted it all you could, you might have to move the dial some. But on old clocks, if you do that, there's going to be a ring where the dial used to sit. So try to adjust it so the hour tube is not hitting the hole where it comes out of. And good time to connect your birds and to see whether or not they're going back in the door. And after I adjusted the movement here, you can see I got space in between the hour tube and the dial hole. So if there's not space, that friction will stop your clock. And I like doing things one step at a time. Because if I was to put everything together and it don't work, I'd have to take everything back apart. So testing the quail bellow. I'm happy with that. So now I can put the cuckoo bellows in. And as you can see, I had to bend the quail bellow. That way this part goes up, this part goes down. That way it could hit the levers that it needs to hit. And now I have the high note lift bellow in. So it's time to test it. I'm happy with that. I have the low note lift bellow in, but watch what happens to the bird's tail. Nothing. And that's because that wire is not hitting the bird's tail. So I have to adjust that. Now what happens went to the bird's tail. Trip it again, sorry. I need 3 hands. Now it's moving. So now it's time to put the weights on and the pendulum and verify that it's going to play for at least a day. I don't have the pendulum on. I don't need the pendulum on. I already know that the clock is in beat. So now this way, as long as the weights drop evenly, I know that the clock is going to run properly. So what do y'all think of this video so far? Are you enjoying it? Please hit the subscribe button. A, because it's free to do so. It doesn't cost you a darn thing. And B, I post videos that help people out. And I have a lot of people who say I don't know what I'm talking about, but I have more people that thank me all the time. And C, this is the only thing that I ask from you is that you hit the subscribe button. I video chat with people all the time, and the only thing, I don't ask for money or anything. The only thing I ask them to do is hit the subscribe button on my YouTube channel. And hit the notification bell, hit the like button, leave me comments. When you hit the notification bell, YouTube will tell you when I post a new video. If you hit the subscribe button, if you're having a problem with your clock and you're a subscriber to my channel, you can search for videos that I post. More than likely, I have a video out there that will tell you what to do. This is why you do these function tests. And I said earlier that I might have to tighten the cuckoo side governor fan once I put the bellows in, because watch what happens. One more time. I think the cuckoo is playing a little bit too fast myself. So I think I'm going to have to take the movement all back out and tighten the governor fan on the cuckoo side. I might be able to take it, tighten it once I take this bellow out, but I don't know. That might be kind of rough. I also want to mention, due to my health issues, it has taken me probably a week to work on this clock. I work on it maybe an hour or so a day, and then I'm done. My back bothers me a lot, and I also have, due to acid reflux since 1996, my front teeth, my upper front teeth are decaying and rotting, and I have one tooth that's bothering me really bad right now. I'm probably going to end up going to a dentist and having a couple of teeth pulled. There's no sense in having them repaired, because my front teeth, my upper front teeth are almost gone, and it's due to acid reflux disease. At one time, from 1996 until 2008, I was throwing up almost every meal, and it started from stress working a classified job in the military. And so on the 23rd, I take omeprazole, and recently a doctor told me that omeprazole not only causes kidney failure, we're talking Nexium, Prilosec, all that stuff that is for acid reflux. Not only it causes kidney failure, but it also causes amnesia. So on the 23rd, I'm having a procedure done, and they're also going to scope my throat to see what's going on. But as I was saying, I don't work on clocks every day. I only work on my own clocks for the most part. I get involved in working on a few friends' clocks, but this clock will be the second clock that I have ever sold since 1999. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to sell some more clocks because I have literally ran out of wall space, and I have a bunch of clocks in boxes. So again, I don't work on clocks every day. But as you can see, it is working. But again, I'm going to have to take and tighten up the governor fan on the cuckoo, because it shouldn't be cuckooing that fast. And what slows it down is you tightening up the governor fan. If it's cuckooing too slow, the governor fan could be too tight. But if it's cuckooing too fast, the governor fan could be too loose. Some more issues could cause it to cuckoo too fast or cuckoo too slow. And one example is if you got the wrong size weights on. But I have the proper size weights, which are 420 grams for this particular movement. So I know I got the proper weights on. So I know it's the governor fan that is too loose. This is what happens if your strike side governor is too loose. You see how fast it's cuckooing? A couple things could cause that. If your weights are bigger than what they're supposed to be, that could cause it to cuckoo too fast. If the governor fan is too loose, that can cause it to cuckoo too fast. And I'm going to try to tighten that fan by sticking a screwdriver into the case and pushing down on the tab that the governor fan has on it. So stand by. And before I do that, I want you to watch the governor fan when it's done cuckooing. You see how it continues to spin? It ain't supposed to do that. Maybe a half a rotation or one rotation, but not several rotations like it's doing. I was able to bend that tab without taking this movement out. Now watch the governor fan. And it's cuckooing better. You see how it stops almost immediately? That's what you want. As you can see, it's no longer cuckooing too fast. It's cuckooing about normal. I hope this video helps. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button because it's free to do so. Here I have the low note lip bellow out. The wire wasn't long enough for me, and so I want to put a longer wire on it so the bird's tail moves better. But as you can see, this is loose. And you can order a set of wires from Time Savers, and you get all kinds of wires. You get lift note wires, you get staples. Now these are extra wires and stuff that I took off of clocks and that I have sitting around, but you get hardware from Time Savers, and that hardware will give you a piece of wire that you could use to make a wire that lifts the cuckoo. Now, I have this video on my YouTube channel, and if you're a subscriber to my YouTube channel, if you just type in time saver, search for time savers, and I got this video, time savers and KWM reamer and bushing a clock, but it also describes how you use time savers online catalog and how to order parts from time savers. And here's the wire assortment that I was talking about. For $8, you order this assortment of wires. Comes with eye hooks, the high note and low note lift wires, staples, big staples, little staples, different wires, all kinds of different wires for cuckoo clocks. And you can also make your own wire out of a paper clip or something like that. And going through my assortment of wires, I got this. It's already got a flat end here, so it will easily go into the bellow. So now I need to take the old wire out and put this wire in. I'm going to try to do it on video here. Got to remove the steeple first. And there we got the staple removed. Now to remove this old wire, because again, I don't think it's long enough. Now I can put that in my assortment of wires. Now to put this into the bellow, and I want to use a very good pair of pliers to do that. Working it a little bit at a time to push it down. And if you don't work it a little bit at a time, your wire will bend just like it did on me just now. Go a little bit farther. Now I can bend it up. And now I'm going to have to put a staple in so it doesn't move back and forth like that. And I'm probably not going to be able to do this on video because I have to be able to see. So stand by. I'm just going to push the staple so it's on both sides of this wire. I think I'm going to push that wire in some more also because I don't like the way it is. So anyway, I'm going to put that staple in, so stand by. And this keeps coming out, so I'm going to cut that off, and I'm going to flatten this or take my Dremel tool to make a sharp point so I could stick it in the bellow. So I put the staple in, and now I can use the rest of this wire to lift that bird's tail better. I got the cuckoo back in. Now watch the bird's tail. It lifts much higher. And when it's done, the tail is not touching the wire that lifts its tail. If it's touching the wire that lifts its tail, a few things could happen. The door might not close properly, or it could stop it from cuckooing properly because it's already putting pressure on the tail, so it might not cuckoo at all if it's already lifting the tail. It has to have that space in between the wire and the tail to work properly. After I got the cuckoo bellow sorted out, I noticed that the quail bellow is not working right, and a lot of it's got to do with this flimsy wire, so I'm going to have to sort that out. As you can see, that wire is causing issues, and so that's what I'm doing next. As you can see, when I take the wire off of the lever that connects to the movement for the quail, there's quite a bit of distance between this wire and this lever. So before I do anything, I'm going to taking a pair of pliers and holding it right here. I'm going to bend this up to meet that wire and then stick it back on. And I have to do the same thing to the cuckoos and stick it back on and see if it works better. Adjusting the wire a little bit, and see what happens now. Plays better. At least it's not dragging. And as you can see, the lever that goes to the high note cuckoo versus the lever that trips it, there's a little bit of space. And just like in my video on how to make a cuckoo bellow wire, I tell you that bring the lever up to the wire, or when you make the wire, make sure that the wire is long enough to go to the eyelet on the lever. And make sure when you do this that you have the weights on. That way the weights will help ensure that this lever is down. And some people say, you don't need the weights to make sure that lever is down because it's free fall. Excuse me, that is true. But without the weight on it, you see what happens when I go to take the weight off? The lever changes position. And that's because the actual pulley in there is changing position. And that's why I say put the weight on when you do all these adjustments. I'm going to have to pull the movement back out because I don't know what happened, but something happened to where it doesn't want to cuckoo properly unless I pull on the weight. So that is all part of working on cuckoo clocks. Just when you think that you have it all correctly, something throws in a curveball and you have to take it all back apart. That's just part of it. And I want to point out two things again. First of all, as you can see, these three pieces of wire, they're all lined up with each other. And that's why I say when you adjust these wires, that you should hold a pair of pliers back at this end and adjust to the right of the pliers, hanging on to the pliers really tightly. That way, this wire that you're adjusting doesn't get out of alignment with these three wires. It's the same way on the high note lift wires. They're all three in alignment with each other. And the low note lift wire, as soon as I can find it, they're all three in alignment with each other. Now this low note lift wire, I told you, it's easier to put a bend in that wire than to readjust the main wheel. But anyway, these three wires are in alignment with each other, and somehow they've got out of alignment, so I straightened them back out. The other thing I want to point out is on this Hubert Herr movement, now I don't have all the other parts to this, but if your clock is not going off directly where you want it to, with the minute hand lined up, on this particular Hubert Herr movement, you just take this wheel off and rotate it one tooth or two teeth or whatever it takes to get that pen lined up, and make sure the pens are all straight and that they're not bent, to get the pen lined up where you want it. Now on my Albert Fleeg Hunter's cuckoo clock and other antique cuckoo clocks, you have to adjust the wire that trips these pens. But in this case, it's not a wire, it's a piece of metal, and what you adjust is this. Now, I want to clarify that you wouldn't want to be bending this. You would adjust this because it's part of this. And once you take it off to adjust, you put it back on, and the minute wheel with minute pinion catches it. So this is the adjustment for the hands, not necessarily that. This is by taking it off, rotating it, put it back on, putting this all together, putting your hands on, and see if it trips exactly where you want it to trip. I just wanted to clarify that. The movement is back in, and now here I am testing the bellows one at a time. Here's a quail. And now it's on to the cuckoos. I got the high note lift bellow in, but I don't have it connected yet because I wanted to test the quail to make sure that the bellow whistle is not affecting the quail itself. And as you will see, instead of having the long wire, I put a loop in it. That way it doesn't change positions. I did the same thing for the cuckoo. High note lip bellow. And one thing I meant to do when I had the movement out was to mess with the governor pan, because that was playing too fast and I had to adjust it. As you can see, it's adjusted now. The governor pan stopped almost immediately. Here we go. Now the high note lever bellow and the low note lever bellow is cuckooing at the same time, so now I have to fix that. And the reason it was cuckooing at the same time is because the high note lip lever wire, stand by. The high note lip lever wire, which is that wire in there that hits the tabs, the low note lip lever wire is supposed to ride on top of it, but the high note lip lever wire was going underneath the high note lip lever wire, and that's why it was cuckooing at the same time frame. Now it cuckoos like it's supposed to. There's always something. A simple thing. It was in warning, and that's why when I tripped it, it didn't want to do its thing. So with the hand, me turning the arbor, so this clock is almost there.